So, we're going to dive right in today and talk about truly the resonance of who we are, our identity from an internal perspective, and the identity of which we portray to other people. And when those two are not aligned and walking together, that's when we start to have discomfort and dis-ease within ourselves, because so much is riding on, we talk so much about people wanting to be authentic, their authentic selves. Well, in order to be authentic, we have to be able to live in resonance with who we know we are within and who we choose to show up as in the external. So we have our internal identity, which is our values, our beliefs, our passions, the things that excite us, interest us, the things that spark, creativity within us, our natural flow, right? Like we're not all the same. You're going to have people who, which was not me, are like super mathematical, super formulated and just organized, and other people who are very fluid and more artsy. It's a natural way of being, and a lot of who we become is with our surroundings, like what is valued from outside, the external factors, versus what is natural for us. If we're not brought up in an area where those natural talents, those natural interests are encouraged, we start to hold back. We start to draw back and hide those parts of us. And then we're not sure. We become uncertain. Like, how do I show up? Who can I be in each situation? I know for myself, well, I didn't grow up, but for many, many years, I was in a sales environment. And that really was like, they teach you how to adapt and be, congruent with the client you're talking to. And although, yes, that's an interesting practice and it does work, at the same time, how much of your own identity is then becoming that job? And do you start to let those limitations of who and how you are sneak into your essence and your being? And starting to acknowledge and say, okay, where am I right now? I think that the biggest gift you can give yourself is to do a full stop. And if you're feeling that inner angst, discomfort, displeasure, is to begin by looking at, how are you showing up? Are you showing up in full being of who you are, in resonance with what you truly believe, what you truly value? And even before we can ask that question, the first step is saying, are my beliefs and my values actually mine? Because again, we learn from our environments and the people we were brought up by, or the school we went to, the teachers we had, like so many influences at a young age that definitely influence what we learn to be acceptable or not acceptable, right? Like a lot of us have what we call the common rules. Like from my age group, it was, kids sat at their own table because we were loud, and it was like, don't speak unless you're spoken to. And there's so many cliche values and beliefs that we are taught from a young age that say who and how we're supposed to be in situations. And if that aligns with who we naturally are, I was a rambunctious child. And so I was told a lot to stop or to not do this and don't do that. And that's not right. And you shouldn't do this. And so you start to have this identity crisis of like, well, what's natural inside of me wants this, but I'm being told that isn't right. And so we start to doubt, we start to hide, we start to shame and blame. And when we can start to open our awareness, which is really the first step, it's not about jumping in all the way and being like, I have to change everything. All the emotions we have a reason for being within us. All the feelings we have come to us from an experience, and it is either trying to protect us or trying to give a message, to send a message of, that angst you might be feeling, that contradiction within. There is a feeling that arises from that is leading you to say, hey, this isn't feeling right for me. And how can we begin to change that? And so really one of the first, and I would say the simplest steps, is just to become aware. Are the values and beliefs that your external self is living actually yours? Are they yours? Do you have those values because it's what you truly believe, or is it just because it's what you've heard all of your life? It's what the people around you believe and agree with? Is it, do you think it's wrong what you're feeling? When we can start to be witness of our own emotions and our own sense of self, to be like, where am I showing up as I desire to be? And where am I in misalignment and not in integrity? Because that, I think, is the strongest thing, is when we do act in a certain way that in reality kind of scratches the chalkboard of who we truly desire to be. We start to reinforce this idea that we are not good enough as we are, that there are parts of us that should shy away, hide away, not be expressed and not be shared with other people. And really, that's kind of baloney, because some people may not appreciate certain behaviors, characteristics, whims, and quirks we have. And yet we have to allow ourselves to know that's not a weight for us to carry. If somebody has a reaction or dislikes something about us, that is their own journey, their own story, their own misalignment, right? Like, very often people will actually really appreciate something about somebody, but it goes against the norms. And so they're like, well, she's so nice, but that famous word "but" jumps in. And we have to learn to start to embrace, acknowledge, and be in resonance with ourselves, because only when the internal identity of who we believe ourselves to be truly, not the false beliefs, but who we truly sit with and say, no, this is what I love. This is how I love to be. This is what sparks delight and joy and passion and creativity and compassion within me. And then compare that to, how are we showing up in the external world? How do we hold ourselves when other people are there? Are we biting our tongue a lot? Are we, going to say and then hold back? Like, those are all signs, if we become aware and allow ourselves to notice them with curiosity. I think one of the biggest issues is people will start to, or they don't start to, I think we all always kind of know when we're uncomfortable. But we judge it, we shame it, we blame it, we get angry at it. And when we can start to just be like, okay, there's something there. There's something in this interaction where I'm feeling that disease. And maybe it's time to look at it. Like, what was it that happened that allowed me to be uncomfortable? Is it their behavior that I'm misaligning with and I don't love? Or is it that I want to be more of myself, but I'm holding back? And when we can even just begin with that, begin to notice with curiosity, no blame, no shame, all your emotions have a reason for coming to the surface. There is no bad emotion. There is no reason to hide from them or shy away from them. In honesty, if we were allowing ourselves to move through them, to learn from them, we would process them a lot quicker and learn whatever there is to learn and move on. And yet we have been taught that those emotions are not appropriate, and so we hide them. We keep them in our little secret pouch that we only let loose in our minds, and self-sabotage ourselves in so many circumstances. So when we can release all that, let that weight go, let that judgment go, and just start to notice and say, okay, you know what? There's who I know I am, and there's who I'm walking in the world as. And how aligned are they? How much are they showing up, holding hands and being like, yeah, this is who we are. This is who I'm meant to be. I have things to say. And when other people react, it doesn't bother us because that is their own story. That is their own journey. That is their own belief. It's not ours. But we have to be able to stand true to our beliefs and values and know what they are and accept them as being what they are. And so for really to begin, if you love a simple exercise you can do is take one side of a sheet of paper, just draw a line through it and write status quo. And then write down all these rules and beliefs and values maybe that you've been, told all your life, things that maybe hold you back, like, only speak when spoken to, only if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. You know, boys don't cry. I mean, whatever it is, that kind of is just like a standard in your mind, like, oh yeah, that. And then on the other side of the paper, draw what I would call your daring bravely thoughts. Thoughts that truly, what do you believe? And you can do it a straight line across. So if you have a belief that, don't speak unless you're spoken to, maybe your daring bravely thought is, speak with compassion and love for everybody. Everything I have to say and others have to say is valuable. And you can cross compare and see which are the values that when you allow yourself to let it flow, is there a misalignment between the two? Is there room for bringing them together so that they're congruent, so that they hold resonance together, that they expand and trying to think of the word complement. That's the word I was looking for. Complement each other, because it's only when we can really bring those parts of ourselves. And there's a third kind of the awareness part, the witness part. But for most of us, if we're beginning the journey of truly wanting to be authentic, of truly stepping into who we are, just starting to look and be curious, again, just curious about what do I believe is who I'm supposed to be, and what is the energy and feelings that I have within myself that I know is who I am at my essence, at my core, at my being, and allow it to just flow. There's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad, right? Like, don't think to write something, go, oh, I shouldn't say that. There's no should or shouldn't. It's just, it's sparking that, what I call dusting off old habitual ideas, thoughts, concepts of what you're supposed to be, and connecting and tapping in to who you feel you are within. But honestly, not based on the eyes of others looking in of who you think people think you are. Who you are. That's where we want to really reconnect to. We want to connect from the deepest, quietest. As I said, this is an exercise. If you want, put some great music on that brings you into flow. If you like candles, or if you're in nature, like, go somewhere that really relaxes you, that brings you a sense of calm and peace, so that you can hear what you have to say. So often we're thinking 10, 20, 30 steps ahead. Want to slow it down a little bit and bring ourselves to a space where we can be curious and just be like, let me ponder this question. Let me see what comes up. So I would love, if you do this exercise, I would love to hear if you were surprised by anything. Were there any values that you just assumed that really kind of are contradictory or not complementary to what you believe within? It would be an absolute honor and privilege for me to hear. As I said, I love the dynamic of conversation. So drop any comments, share. As I said, if you like this, I'm going to be doing a series throughout where I'm going to drop a video and we just really kind of just, I was going to say, shoot the SHIT, but really just talk and bring to light, because my own journey of transformation, I've had to move through these things and bring them to light. And as a coach now, I get to continue that journey with myself. And what I love is supporting and bringing it to others so that they can begin to change the things that you desire to change. So let me know what you think. Subscribe, follow, like. I'm happy to see you, and I can't wait to see you again.